Lasers pummeled Qatarian ships into scrap and shrapnel, within hours of human warships arriving at the front lines, as thousands of years of alien warfare was undone by humanity's sheer destructive power in merely a few short engagements. The Qatarian-Zorgan war seemed lost in its final throes, until seasoned soldier Aaron Clark, aboard the UES Indomitable, reviewed the dire situation while humanity decided to intervene before the Zorgan menace grew unstoppable. Advanced fighters broke formation, spiraling in flames against the backdrop of a dying star system as Aaron's gaze catalogued the Indomitable's battle readouts streaming across holographic displays. The Qatarian General Orion's desperate plea to all spacefaring races for aid against the brutal Zorgan's invasion had been met with fearful silence from the galactic community. Only humanity, disgusted by such cowardice in the face of annihilation, had assembled its formidable fleet led by the Indomitable. To answer the call before the Zorgon's victory enabled them to seize key resource-rich territories and pose an uncontainable threat to humanity itself. As human ships sliced through the void towards the designated Qatarian rendezvous point, a tattered space station orbiting a fading star, Aaron couldn't shake a sense of unease about the mission. The Qatarian warrior race was notorious for its honor and ferocity, yet something about the conveniently timed desperate call for aid sat uneasily in Aaron's gut as scanners showed the aftermath of recent skirmishes upon approach, debris fields intermixed with an eerie stillness at the apparent lack of any Qatarian vessels awaiting their arrival. Tightening his helmet, Aaron led the squad aboard the station in tense silence, prepared for anything, but not for the core-shaking discovery awaiting them in its dim, buckled corridors. Humanity had to succeed in this intervention, or the Zorgan's unchecked advance would spell doom for all in its inexorable path. Every human aboard the Indomitable knew the stakes and steeled themselves for the critical challenge ahead upon which the fate of galaxies now depended. As Aaron and his squad proceeded through the station's corridors, the grim sight that greeted them was worse than they could have imagined. The hallways were littered with the corpses of dozens of Qatarians, their bodies bearing the unmistakable scorch marks of Zorgon plasma weapons. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, making it difficult to breathe even through their helmets' filters. But as they moved deeper into the station, Aaron noticed something odd. Among the many dead, there wasn't a single female Qatarian. Every corpse they encountered was male. The implications of this sent a chill down his spine. They finally reached the command center, and to their surprise it was largely intact. No bodies, no signs of battle, just an eerie stillness. Aaron approached the main view screen and saw that a single message was waiting for them. He tapped the screen and the face of General Orion appeared. "To any allies who receive this message, I urge you to make haste to our homeworld, Qatar Prime. It is there that we will make our final stand against the Zorgan invaders. Time is of the essence. We need your help." Aaron frowned. Something about this didn't sit right. If the Qatarians had truly retreated to their homeworld, why leave this message here in an abandoned station? And why were there only male casualties? "Squad, fan out and search the databanks. I want to know what the hell is really going on here." They got to work hacking into the station's systems. It took some time, but what they found left them stunned. "Sir, you need to see this," one of his men called out. Cowton hurried over and scanned the data on the screen. His blood ran cold. The Qatarians weren't losing the war at all. In fact, they were winning. The reports detailed a secret weapon they had discovered, an alien technology that allowed them to control minds over vast distances. They had been using it to turn entire Zorgon colonies into unwitting sleeper agents, sabotaging their own defenses from within. "It's a trap," Aaron whispered. "They don't want allies, they want more pawns." He turned to his squad. "We need to warn the fleet now." They raced back through the station's corridors, hearts pounding. As they neared the airlock where their shuttle was docked, a sudden explosion rocked the station. Aaron was thrown off his feet, slamming hard into the wall. Dazed, he looked up through the airlock's viewport. A massive Qatarian warship had decloaked nearby, its weapons aimed directly at the human fleet. "No," Aaron breathed. A voice crackled over the comms, cold and triumphant. "Greetings, humans. This is General Orion. I must thank you for falling into our little trap." Aaron's head was spinning, from both the explosion and the sickening realization of what was happening. "You see, we Tarians have never needed allies. What we need is more soldiers for our cause. And thanks to our new mind control technology, that's exactly what you will become." The implications were staggering. If the Tarians could control the minds of the entire human fleet, and with your ships and your people under our command, the Zorgans will fall swiftly, and then the rest of the galaxy will follow. Aaron struggled to his feet, his mind racing. They had to stop this somehow. But as he looked out at the massive Qatarian warship, its weapons glowing with deadly intent, he realized they might already be too late. Aaron scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding as he watched the Qatarian warship unleash a barrage of fire on the human fleet. The Indomitable shuddered under the onslaught, its shields straining to hold back the deadly energy beams. He had to warn them, had to let them know what the Qatarians were really planning. With trembling fingers, he punched in the command codes to open a secure channel to the Indomitable's bridge. "This is Lieutenant Aaron Clark," he shouted over the sound of explosions. "The Qatarians have been lying to us. They don't want allies. They want to capture our ships and crews to use as pawns in their war against the Zorgans." There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end, then a flurry of activity as the bridge crew scrambled to relay the warning to the rest of the fleet. But it was too late. The Qatarian ships' attacks were too precise, too focused on disabling rather than destroying. One by one, the human ships fell silent, their engines and weapon systems crippled by the relentless assault. Aaron watched in horror as escape pods began to jettison from the stricken vessels, only to be caught in the Qatarian ship's tractor beams and drawn inexorably towards its gaping hangar bays. He knew what fate awaited those unfortunate souls. A life of mental slavery, their very thoughts and actions controlled by the Qatarians' insidious technology. He couldn't let that happen. He wouldn't. Turning to his squad, he outlined his desperate plan. "We have to get aboard that ship and destroy their mind control device," he said grimly. "It's the only way to free our people and stop the Qatarians from using them against us." His men nodded, their faces set with determination. They knew the risks, knew that they might not make it back. But they also knew what was at stake. The fate of the entire human race hung in the balance. Using the chaos of the battle as cover, they made their way to the airlock where their shuttle was docked. The station shuddered and groaned around them, the sounds of distant explosions and creaking metal a constant reminder of the danger they were in. But they pressed on, driven by a sense of urgency that overrode all other concerns. As they neared the shuttle, a group of Tarian soldiers suddenly appeared from a side corridor, their weapons drawn. Aaron and his squad reacted instantly, diving for cover and returning fire. The narrow hallway became a kill zone, filled with the acrid smell of ozone and the ear-splitting whine of energy weapons. But the humans were outnumbered and outgunned. One by one, Aaron's men fell until only he was left, his armor scorched and battered, his weapon running low on power. He knew he had only one chance. With a wordless cry of defiance, he charged forward, firing wildly as he closed the distance to the Qatarians. Somehow, miraculously, he made it to the shuttle, slamming his fist against the airlock controls and diving inside just as a plasma bolt sizzled past his head. He sealed the hatch behind him and staggered to the pilot's seat, his hands shaking as he powered up the engines. The shuttle leapt forward, rocketing out of the station's airlock and into the maelstrom of the battle raging outside. Aaron wove and dodged through the chaos, his eyes fixed on the looming bulk of the Tarian warship ahead. He had to get aboard, had to find a way to stop Orion's mad plan before it was too late. As he neared the ship's hangar bay, he saw that the Tarians had already begun bringing the captured human escape pods aboard. He gritted his teeth, knowing that every second counted. He had to act fast before those poor souls were subjected to the horror of the mind control device. With a final, desperate burst of speed, he guided the shuttle into the hangar bay, bracing himself for impact. The small craft skidded and bounced across the deck, finally coming to rest in a twisted heap of metal. Aaron kicked open the hatch and stumbled out, his weapon at the ready. The hangar was eerily silent, the only sound the distant hum of the ship's engines. He moved cautiously forward, every sense on high alert. He knew the Tarians would be looking for him, knew that he was now the most wanted man on the ship. But he had no choice. He had to find the mind control device and destroy it no matter the cost. The fate of his people, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depended on it. As he made his way deeper into the ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every shadow seemed to hold a hidden threat, every corner a potential ambush. He moved as silently as he could, his heart pounding in his ears. Suddenly a hand shot out from a darkened alcove, grabbing him by the arm and pulling him roughly aside. He spun around, his weapon coming up, only to find himself face to face with a female Katarian. She was young, perhaps in her early 20s, with fierce eyes and a determined set to her jaw. "Who are you?" Aaron demanded, his finger tightening on the trigger. "What do you want?" The Katarian held up her hands in a gesture of peace. "My name is Zara," she said quietly, "and I'm here to help you." Aaron hesitated, not sure whether to trust her, but something in her eyes, a glimmer of sincerity, made him lower his weapon slightly. "Why would you help me?" he asked suspiciously. Zara glanced around as if making sure they were alone. "Because I don't agree with what Orion is doing," she said softly. "Using the mind control device goes against everything we Katarians believe in. It's a violation of our ancient code of honor." She went on to explain that she was part of a small group of rebels who had been secretly working to undermine Orion's efforts. They believed that the Katarians should win their wars through strength and skill, not through cheap tricks and mind games. Aaron listened intently, his mind racing. If what Zara was saying was true, then perhaps there was still a chance to stop Orion and free the captured humans. He made a quick decision. "All right," he said, lowering his weapon fully. "I'll trust you for now, but if you betray me, I won't hesitate to take you down." Zara nodded, a faint smile playing across her lips. "Fair enough," she said. "Now come on, we don't have much time." Together they set off through the ship's winding corridors, Zara leading the way. She seemed to know exactly where she was going, navigating the labyrinthine passages with ease. Aaron followed close behind, his weapon at the ready, his senses on high alert. As they neared their destination, the sound of footsteps echoed from up ahead. Zara held up a hand, signaling for Aaron to stop. They pressed themselves against the wall, hardly daring to breathe as a group of Tarian soldiers marched past, their weapons glinting in the dim light. When the soldiers had gone, Zara let out a soft sigh of relief. "We're close," she whispered. "The mind control device is just up ahead." But as they rounded the final corner, they found their path blocked by a familiar figure. Orion stood before them, his eyes blazing with fury, a squad of loyal soldiers at his back. "Well, well," he sneered, "what have we here? A traitor and a human working together. How touching." Zara stepped forward, her chin held high. "It's over, Orion," she said defiantly. "We won't let you use the mind control device any longer. It's time for the Katarians to return to the path of honor." Orion laughed, a harsh grating sound. "Honor," he spat. "There is no honor in defeat, only in victory by any means necessary." He gestured to his soldiers. "Kill them," he ordered coldly. The Tarians raised their weapons, but Aaron and Zara were faster. They dove to either side as energy bolts scorched the air where they had been standing a moment before. Aaron rolled to his feet, his own weapon up and firing, taking down two of the soldiers before they could react. Zara, meanwhile, had engaged Orion himself in hand-to-hand combat. They traded blows back and forth, their movements a blur of speed and power, but Orion was stronger, more experienced. He caught Zara with a vicious backhand, sending her sprawling to the floor. Aaron saw her fall and felt a surge of rage. He charged forward, firing wildly, driving the remaining soldiers back. He reached Zara's side and helped her to her feet. Then together they turned to face Orion. The Tarian general stood before them, his face twisted with hatred. "You fools," he snarled. "You think you can stop me? I am the future of the Tarian race. I will lead us to glory, to dominion over the entire galaxy." "Not if we have anything to say about it," Aaron said grimly. He raised his weapon, aiming it squarely at Orion's chest. "It's over, General. Surrender now, and we'll spare your life." But Orion only laughed. "Spare my life? I would rather die than surrender to the likes of you." With a wordless cry of rage, he charged forward, his own weapon blazing. Aaron and Zara met him head-on, their weapons flashing and sparking as they clashed in a deadly dance of fire and fury. The fate of both their races hung in the balance as they fought, each side struggling to gain the upper hand. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and the cries of the wounded and dying. But still, they fought on, driven by a desperate need to see their mission through to the end. The battle raged on, a cacophony of energy weapons and screams echoing through the Tarian ship's corridors. Aaron and Zara fought side by side, their movements fluid and synchronized as they cut a path through the enemy soldiers. They had to reach the mind control device, had to end this madness before it was too late. At last, they burst into the chamber housing the device, a vast pulsing mass of alien technology that seemed to throb with a sickly, unwholesome light. Orion was there, waiting for them, his face a mask of twisted triumph. "You fools," he spat. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Aaron raised his weapon, his finger tightening on the trigger. "We know enough," he growled. "We know that you've been using this thing to control minds, to turn innocent beings into your puppets." Orion laughed, a sound that sent chills down Aaron's spine. "You think it's that simple?" he asked. "You think this is just a weapon, a tool to be used?" He gestured to the device, his eyes gleaming with a fanatic light. "This is so much more than that," he whispered. "This is a living being, an ancient consciousness that we discovered and enslaved. I have been using its power, yes, but in doing so, I have driven it to the brink of madness." Aaron and Zara exchanged a glance, a creeping horror dawning in their eyes. "What are you saying?" Zara asked, her voice trembling. Orion smiled, a terrible knowing smile. "I'm saying that if you destroy this device, if you free the entity within, its vengeful wrath will be unleashed upon the galaxy. Countless worlds will burn, billions will die screaming." Aaron felt a wave of despair wash over him. They had come so far, fought so hard, only to be faced with an impossible choice. Destroy the device and potentially doom the galaxy, or let Orion continue his reign of terror. As they hesitated, torn by indecision, a voice echoed in their minds, a voice filled with ancient pain and sorrow. It was the entity, reaching out to them telepathically, pleading for release from its torment. Images flashed through their minds, visions of the suffering the entity had endured, the countless minds it had been forced to violate. Aaron saw worlds burning, saw beings of every species writhing in agony as their very thoughts were twisted and subverted. He knew then that he could not condemn this being to an eternity of such pain. He and Zara had to find another way, had to free the entity without unleashing its fury upon the galaxy. Working together, their minds racing, they devised a desperate plan. Using the Tarians' own technology against them, they would create a feedback loop, a surge of energy that would sever Orion's connection to the entity and render the device useless. But there was a catch. To enact the plan, one of them would have to merge their mind with the entity's, to become one with it long enough to guide the energy surge. It was a sacrifice, a price that had to be paid. Zara stepped forward, her eyes filled with a grim determination. "I'll do it," she said softly. "This is the only way to atone for what my people have done." Aaron wanted to protest, wanted to take her place, but he knew that this was her choice, her path to redemption. He could only watch, his heart breaking, as she connected herself to the device, her mind merging with the entities. For a long, terrible moment, there was silence. Then a blinding flash of light engulfed the chamber, a wave of energy that sent Aaron staggering back. When his vision cleared, the device was gone, reduced to a pile of shattered fragments. And Zara, Zara was gone too, her body limp and lifeless on the floor. But he could feel her presence, could sense her consciousness merged with the entities. She had succeeded, had freed the being from its prison, and saved the galaxy from its wrath. Around them, the Qatarian soldiers were blinking, shaking their heads as if waking from a long, terrible dream. Orion lay on the floor, unconscious, his mind severed from the entity's power. It was over. The war, the mind control, the terrible sacrifices. As the Qatarian fleet surrendered and Orion was taken into custody, Aaron could only hope that Zara's sacrifice had not been in vain, that the galaxy could begin to heal, to find a way forward from the scars of this conflict. As the battered human and Tarian fleets limped back to their respective homeworlds, a heavy silence hung over the ships. The losses had been staggering, the cost of victory almost too high to bear. But for Aaron there was no rest, no respite from the gnawing unease that haunted his every waking moment. The entity's final words echoed in his mind, a cryptic warning that chilled him to the bone. "Beware the darkness that lurks beyond the stars," it had whispered, its voice a ghostly echo in the depths of his consciousness. A greater threat awaits, patient and hungry, ready to strike when the galaxy is at its weakest. Driven by a desperate need to understand, Aaron pored over the data they had recovered from the Qatarian ship, sifting through the tangled web of information for any clue, any hint of the danger that loomed on the horizon. And then he found it, buried deep within the Qatarian files, a name that sent shivers down his spine. The Void Forge, an ancient weapon of unimaginable power, capable of reshaping the very fabric of reality itself. The Qatarians had been searching for it, he realized, believing it to be the key to their ultimate victory over the Zorgans. But they were not the only ones. As he dug deeper, a chilling picture began to emerge. Another race, ancient and powerful, lurking in the shadows. The Nihilim, a name whispered in hushed tones, a species so advanced that they made the Qatarians look like children playing with toys. And they too were searching for the Void Forge. With growing horror, Aaron realized that the war between the Qatarians and the Zorgans had been just a prelude, a distraction to keep the galaxy's eyes away from the true threat. The Nihilim were close, so close to finding the Void Forge, and if they succeeded... He shuddered at the thought. All of existence would be at their mercy, subject to their every twisted whim. He knew he had to act, had to warn the galaxy of the coming danger, but as he prepared to bring his findings to his superiors, a searing pain exploded in his head, driving him to his knees. A voice, cold and alien, whispered in his mind, its words dripping with malice. "You have seen too much human," it hissed. "The Void Forge will be ours, and all who stand in our way will be destroyed." Aaron screamed as he felt his mind being torn apart, the Nihilim's psychic assault ripping through his memories, his very identity. He struggled against the invasion, fighting with every ounce of his will to protect the knowledge he had gained. But it was a losing battle. He could feel himself slipping away, his consciousness fragmenting under the relentless onslaught. With his last moments of lucidity, he managed to send a desperate message to the Indomitable, his fingers flying across the console, even as his vision blurred and his thoughts scattered like leaves in the wind. "The Nihilim are coming," he typed, his hands shaking. "The Void Forge, they must not find—" And then his mind shattered and he was lost, a broken husk of a man, his warnings unheeded, his sacrifice unknown. In the depths of space, the Nihilim smiled, their ancient eyes glittering with malevolent glee. The pieces were falling into place, the game nearing its end. And the galaxy trembled, unaware of the doom that awaited it in the darkness beyond the stars. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.